Yeah.
We're trading the initial reaction, then we're trading the reaction based on the reaction that we've just saw.
Yeah.
Like
and that's,
NFTs.
I think, I think that's an important point to the people that are really new. Again, I don't know if I've necessarily ever said that. I mean, Steven and I might be like, oh, press release, but again, we're just like, we believe in this stuff. It's
like a flag. It's like a flag that
it's
something's
a tool.
afoot.
It's a tool.
Totally.
The press release is just a tool to attract buyers. And Steven is hoping that everyone rushes in at 9:15. He hopes the chat room rushes in, bags everybody, and then it starts pulling back and they all run away and he covers, and I'm hoping that there's enough newbies out there that believe this thing that will push it up until the afternoon, sell in the afternoon, and then I just throw that thing in the gutter. Welcome back to the SteadyTrade podcast, everyone. Back here with Kim and Steven. Hopefully you've been enjoying all the episodes lately. We've been really kind of mixing it up. Had a couple amazing guests with Jack. You guys are gonna hate me. What's Jack's girlfriend's name?
Mariana.
I wanted that. I was gonna say that, but I didn't want. I hand on the Bible. I was gonna say that, but I'm like, is it better to say I don't know? Or is it better to say the wrong name?
Take guess,
so I went with I don't
choice.
know. So anyway, amazing with Jack and Mariana. We recently released, talking about NFTs, and then we had the Get Back Together episode 2. So today I put it out to Steven to come up with a topic, and I kind of like this one. So what I'll let Steven kind of segue it in, but talking about a lot of the mistakes. I think this is something I talk about a lot in the SteadyTrade team and on the podcast. I always give that, growing up, I had the unfortunate, traumatizing, I still have PTSD experience of growing up a Detroit Lions fan. The one glorious time we all remember as every Lions fan is the 6 or 7 year career of Barry Sanders. And I always talk about that Barry Sanders analogy, where the number one thing that I always respected and many people did about Barry is possibly the most talented running back of all time. That's up to debate, but he's up there. And every touchdown he always scored, he always just walked the ball over to the ref and handed the ref. No dances, no celebrating. And his point was, this is what I was hired to do. I was here to score touchdowns. So it's one thing to celebrate your wins. And I know people, especially on social media, love that. They love the big P&Ls and the bragging and, and the top tick in the shorts and all this crap. But I think where you really learn is from the mistakes, and that's why I appreciate kind of Steven's topic. So Steven, why don't you give a little bit of background and get us started here?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what I wanted to kind of cover is for the audience, a lot of aspiring learning traders. Everyone kind of wants to move forward and think like, what can we do better? And I think one way to move forward is to know what not to do. So what are the 5 biggest mistakes that any trader should avoid? And like, this sounds kind of basic, but it's mega important because it's so easy to fall into bad habits and get rewarded for them in the stock market.
Especially,
it's
number one, and it's interesting the time we're recording this because, and I'm not Chicken Little, but right now it kind of feels like we're coming out of that quote unquote craziest 14 months in stock market history, and you got rewarded a lot for making bad decisions. I mean, I called it a bag holder market forever. I mean, you could just do stupid shit and walk away for a few days, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, woo, and then we also, a lot of the times before 2020, we talk about, if you get short the front side, and sometimes if you just cover your eyes, you get rewarded for it. Because at the end of the day, you're shorting these crappy penny stocks, and they all fail eventually, as long as you don't get squeezed out or margined out. But yeah, I mean, 2020 was the year of getting rewarded for terrible decisions. I mean, you you could diamond hands GME, and here, hell, GME's up 20% today, I think.
Is it really?
Yeah, back up to like 180, 170, 180. Yeah.
What
So
the hell?
yeah, 170. It was up. It hit 174. At one point, it was up 20% today. So
Incredible.
But the question that I kind of really want answered out of this episode and this time is, what is the biggest mistake? Like, what's the biggest trading mistake the consensus gets away with? Is it adding to losers, or is it being stubborn? Is it not having a plan? Because I think ultimately the mistake is not having a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you do add to the loser. Do you know what I mean? But I'm just curious to nail down what's the biggest mistake every trader makes, so every trader can be like, I'm not making that mistake.
Well, let's hit. I would say let's see if your bullets can get us to that conclusion. Let's see if you've properly mapped our way to answer that, the riddle.
There's a riddle.
In a Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien quest type fashion. Do you know who he was?
I know it's an author. I don't know if you want us to do some sort of comedic sketch off the whim. Do you want us to do something here? I don't know what's going on.
I thought you'd get us started on a bullet point, but I thought you would
We were going to
appreciate
name the top 5.
No, I mean, of course, like my thesis, I mean, for me, I mean, it's all subjective though, but the main thing that no one should ever do is add to a loser. That's the main thing that no one should ever do. Never add, I mean, in that ciphers from not having a plan. You should have a plan and you should stick to it. And I'll always find it funny when, well, not funny, but I'll always be interested when someone says, I'm going to take the loss here. I say, yeah, you could take the loss here, or you could take the loss when you said you were going to take the loss when you originally made the plan. Because ultimately you had a plan, you had a stop, you had risk. The risk is there for a reason. You cut it when your risk is broke. Otherwise, why did you have the risk in the first place?
Yeah, and I think, again, I think that the fact that and whether you take my advice or not, I've preached this forever, that index card methodology. And if you can go back to my social media from 10 years ago, I'd post those index cards. And I think that there is that not having a plan, not writing it down, and ultimately not sticking to it, I think that's the biggest mistake, because I don't see how you can ever be consistent over time without a methodology. And I think that is the biggest, in my opinion, that's the biggest mistake is, again, you can buy a stock and it goes up, you can short a stock, it goes down, but how do you repeat that? How do you get there again later today, tomorrow, next week? And that boils down to having a methodology, and whatever your boxes are. You hear me say that all the time, checking the boxes. But you have to develop over time a process and a methodology, because until you do that, I think you're going to get lucky. You're going to lose. And I mean, that was me from, once I started, the business kind of matured and I started dabbling post.com boom, 5, 6, 7 years, I'm trying to trade these stupid real stocks. And we've talked about that in the past, but like a good year for me was flat. I was just like, I'm up 2%, I'm down 2%, but I never got anywhere because I never had a methodology. I never had I would just be like, hey, CNBC's talking about this stock. Hey, Jim Cramer mentioned this one, or hey, a new iPhone's coming out, or, it was, but what I was lacking was, stuff we talk about all the time, combining hot sectors and catalysts and mania and recognizing all of these things, and particularly penny stocks. I mean, obviously we're a penny stock podcast, but I think, penny stocks are just so much more predictable than Apple or Amazon or whatever. But that to me, and whatever your process is, hey, maybe you make $1 trillion trading real stocks, but you have to have a methodology and a process.
What are the other mistakes, Stephen?
No, but just one thing to add to that, because I don't want people to think that this is like too elementary, or this is something that should be looked over. It's kind of serious. I mean, like Like I
Well, if you want to make money, I mean, listen, if you want to fuck around and have fun, I mean, if you want to do stupid shit and laugh to your buddies about winning $1,000 or losing $1,000, I mean, that's what everybody on Wall Street Bets is doing. I mean, it's just a game, and that's cool. Okay, have fun. I mean, I blow money on stupid shit every day. I ordered a $200 gravity blanket today. I don't even know what that stupid thing's supposed to do.
That's awesome. That's going to be really good for your central nervous system.
Fair enough.
These kind of podcasts.
Yeah. Maybe I should get some crystals and some patchouli weed or something too. But my point is, if you want to actually make money over time, you have to take this seriously, and then it's not just, hey, gravity blanket, So
no, but shorts are like the biggest victim to this, and that's why I say like I'm the loser is not having a plan, because like I start like I say I lost money in the beginning, but I turned 600 into like 99,000, and honestly, I'm not joking. This is why we're discussing it today. Vast majority of that money was kind of made not really having a plan, like just having feel, like being like this volume is going to come down, this sector is going to come down, or this news is not going to hold up. Like a lot of it was kind of like I'm not gonna have a home run. I'm not gonna hit it here.
I'll push back on you though. I mean, dude, that you can call that feel, but I call it experience. It's you got 4 years of short and shitty penny stocks. I mean, you can call it feel, but I mean, I'd call it experience.
No, I agree, but what I'm saying is there's no plan. There's no. I'm saying I know roughly this is going to go. So I'm going to be light in the beginning and I'm going to be heavy when it comes down. Do you know what I mean? But what I started doing more recently is being like, no, like I've got a plan. If this plan doesn't work, I'm out. Or I'm in here, and if this doesn't work, I'm out. And then I might get back in and reevaluate. But sure. The plan is this. And I didn't really trade off a plan until this year. Like I'm just saying. And it was probably my number one mistake, not to trade off a plan, because once you've got a successful plan, you can just scale it times 100, and you can make times 100. Like I took realized off my screens. You can make whatever money you want once you've got a profitable plan.
Are you just kind of seeing this, Stephen?
I mean, it's ridiculous because it's the first thing you get taught, but it's like kind of something that I learned back to front. Yeah. Because I thought I could just trade off intuition, trade off feel, and you can. It does work, but you can't have a scalable system unless you've got a plan. That's so for me. My number one mistake over the last 5 years is not respecting the plan, and not respecting risk enough.
Let me get I know I'm dominating like usual. Let me say one quick thing because I don't want to forget this.
Yep.
So comment below about Tim butting in. I get it. Maybe someday I'll get fucking fired from this podcast. You can all be happy, and I'll be gone. That intuition trading, and I think that is something that people get tricked into a lot. My opinion only. There's a very small percentage that can do that, but it's probably not you. Okay, so you, listener, in my opinion, unless you're a very small print, you have to have a system. And I didn't want to let that slip because a lot of people fall into that. I thought, I just got a feel for it. No. I mean, maybe there's guys out there.
You probably do, but stuff slips. Like you'll let that go. You'll let this go. You're not a robot. If you're a robot, you can probably trade a system on feel. But
I think there are guys like that. Guys,
yeah, for sure.
But I'm, so sorry.
All right, so my question is, just because I don't know that everybody listening to us, some of them certainly do, but just describe what the plan literally tactically is when you say that.
Honestly, for me, I got so good at short and gap bars. Well, so good or so terrible. It depends how you look at it. But I just knew which ones would fail and which ones would run. And I knew if it would fail, I knew it might run a bit before it failed. So that led me to the point of just, I would take size based on how strong the gapper was. Mm-hmm. If it was a strong gapper, I would short a lot later. If it was a weak gapper, I would hit it pre-market. And I like I say, I mean, I grew my account like 100 times over through that
Which is
strategy.
ridiculous. I mean,
Which
again.
is ridiculous, but I did. But the point is,
especially your starting point. I mean, again, I still
600 to 99,000.
I don't know if people. I don't know, because we're in this world of unrealistic expectations. I just don't know if people. That $600 starting point is just freaking ridiculous, man.
I mean, should I change my strategy? I mean, that's the question. I mean, should I change? But I think I should, because trading on feel is great, but it's great when you start with $600, so you can just lose $600. But I never really had a plan. And what if the outlier move happens? What if the market suddenly changes? That's when something goes wrong.
That's what I'm curious about. Like that concept of how you did what you did, which is remarkable. It's awesome. But how did you find it so that somebody watching could find what their pattern is or their plan? Like, how many do you have to go through till you find the one that works for you? Like, that was what Mariana said too, her personality. She said she found, she just, it wasn't her personality, this or this, until she found, I can't even remember what her plan is or her pattern is, but she said it took her a while to find that. So
I'll give the short answer. This is where I'll ask Nicole to interject the Clubber Lang clip from Rocky 3 when they go to Clubber Lang, aka Mr. T, and they say, "What's the prediction for the fight, Mr. Clubber Lang?" And he looks at the camera and he says, "Pain." In my opinion. Now, I'm a caveman, but I think you find it with excruciating pain. So,
yeah, I mean, I think my answer is, and it relates to kind of, I had it today actually. I was out surfing this morning, which is why I'm red as hell.
What? Wait, what? Stop the presses. Were you surfing?
No, I do surf, yeah.
Steven?
He was surfing Tinder, probably.
No. I was surfing.
I'm so happy to hear this. This is
I've got
incredible.
a surfboard just right there, yeah. I've got a surfboard just in the corner. Yeah,
How long have you been surfing?
About 2 months. It keeps you connected with the ocean and the waves, and
dude, it's the best exercise.
We've got some free time, so
for your heart, for your trading. It's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that.
No, but thank you. But what was interesting was when I was, I hope I get this right. I was like, when am I going to pop up on the board? Like, when am I going to pop up? Like, cause like I'm like not as lean and mean and green as Tim. I'm not like Tim / Jocko Willing. Like, I'm a bit bigger. Like, I haven't looked after myself as well. It's like, am I gonna be like, how long is it gonna take to pop up on a wave? Like, pop up and surf the wave.
Yeah.
And he said it can take a couple of times, or it can take some people take a year. Some people take a year, or some people just take a couple of tries. And that was just back to the point of when you were talking about trading. It's like, how long is it going to take before trading clicks? It's the same as how long it takes before you pop up on that wave, like that muscle memory clicks.
Yeah, that was a coach that told you that?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's just like, and obviously, like, I literally like popped up on my fourth time, right? Like, I literally nailed it straight away, because that's the type of person I am, just a winner. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that.
I like that you're now a surfer, and you're growing your hair out. So,
well, I mean, me hair is growing out because of a British lockdown. but I mean, like, on the context of the podcast, like, just to clarify, like, what is the biggest mistake any trader can ever make? Like, that's what I think is important for people to hear. For mine, it's probably adding to losers. I think not having a plan is a bigger mistake, but I think adding to losers is more severe or detrimental to your career longer term. So
okay, but I don't think you answered my question. What does somebody do to, like, you found how to attach the gap, how to go after the gappers, right?
Yeah.
But how does somebody who doesn't have their plan, I hear Tim's too saying pain, but like, do you do this? Like, do you write down all the different patterns? Do you just start with your pattern and see if that works for you? Like, where would one start?
No, like, you make your own pattern up. Like, so so generally what will happen is,
and it can be
you're
bad,
interested-
you know. It can
But
be a
you're-
terrible plan, but go ahead, Steve.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you're interested in trading. You're looking at candles and numbers and volume going up and down, and then it's a lot of random numbers, and your job is to make the randomness less random and add structure to the randomness. And like, I don't know how I would have ever, like, I was in the challenge initially. I don't know how I would have ever done it unless I was in the challenge, because like I watched the Mark Crook and the Tim Bertani, and they said this, they give structure to randomness. They were like, the market's random, but this is this pattern. This is this
Well,
pattern.
I'll say that too. I found Sykes in 2007. I mean, I was wandering in the wilderness for 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can do it without some
Oh.
sort of mentorship program, but
Yeah.
it's like, go back to, me in the 1960s when I was in high school. The resources just weren't there.
Yeah.
And again, that's why I never knew what the hell I was doing until 2007. So it's like, you can do that today, but why would you? It's like, I mean,
You have to be a genius though. Like honestly, like Roland Wolf can probably figure it out on his own. But
again,
he's
I mean,
one
he's
in
the
a
guy. I
million.
mean, remember, you've
One in a
heard that
million.
story. He used to drive around his house for 4 hours watching webinars.
Yeah, but not even that. He would do 17 hours study a day, and I'm on my 5th hour, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty cool. I'm doing a good job. Like, I've done 5 hours, and he did 17 and didn't tell anyone. Do you know what I mean? So
Wow. Yeah. I'm just curious, like, for me, like, do I want to, maybe not maybe everybody's able to give this a lot more time than I'm able to give it, but do I want to just stick with, sympathy plays? You know what I mean? Like, how does somebody who isn't able to do this full time come up with what their plan is? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Kim,
Maybe
one of
for
these
myself.
days, my evil governor is going to let me out of this state, and I'm going to fly to Hawaii, and I'm going to force passion into you. I
have the passion.
I
but
am going to ignite a fire in your soul that gets you obsessed with sketchy penny stocks, because that's what we need. Now, listen, when it comes to your trading, I love your contributions to the podcast. Everyone, but specifically your trading, and people would probably kick my ass off this podcast before you, okay? Which I agree with them.
They wouldn't.
But when it comes to your specific trading, the biggest thing that we need to get you obsessed, just like Steven. I mean, Steven, and me, I mean, I had a wife and I had little kids. I'm getting up at 4 a.m. because I knew at 7 o'clock those little kids are going to get up. So that's what Steven, you and I need to do.
I get up early, but my obsession.
No, I'm not even saying the early thing.
My coaching.
Steven locked, shut. We need to ignite that fire.
yeah, no, like I would literally, like, I remember having a full-time job in Dubai, and I know I was working 10 hours that day, so I would get up an hour before and I'd stay up 2 hours after, just to make sure I got 3 hours in. And I know it's tough. Like, it's hard to explain, but it's just an obsession. Like, that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe-
an obsession.
Maybe I'll
Pretty gross.
fly to Michigan.
No, don't do that.
That's probably true.
But maybe I'll fly
We're
to
gonna
Hawaii.
close our
now.
restaurants again. You'll have to eat out of a dumpster, probably.
But I need to get, maybe for a couple of weeks to just be on East Coast time to just see like the rhythm and everything.
Well,
But-
and we're getting a little off topic here. And again, listen, what you have a successful career, you have, like always, I'm taking us off in the weeds, but you're asking, like, how do you find your setup?
yeah.
Short answer after my ranting is
Yeah.
you got to get kind of obsessed with something and be like,
Yeah.
how do I figure out
Yeah.
shorten a gap? How do I figure
Yeah.
out, a dip and rip, a VWAP hold, or whatever? And
Right.
and then you start, I talk about my binders all the time. Steven had his
Right,
wall
right.
of charts,
Yes.
and you're just,
I'm
you're
here.
like looking into the matrix. I was looking into
Yeah.
the matrix with my binders. He was
Yeah.
doing with it with his wall. We were basically doing the same thing, just slightly different,
Yeah. What's your pattern, Tim? What's the ones that like
biggest number one for me is is basic. Exactly. So oddly enough, Kim, it's like, and we haven't talked about this that much on the podcast. I talk about it everywhere else.
Yeah.
Pre-market prep, but it's the same stock as Stevens. It's just basically when he's shorting that morning junk stock, that then, ideally for him, it falls apart, which is awesome. What I'm looking at is I know, especially post 2016, like we talked about with JJ, I know what happens when these low float stocks are churning through the float and they start grinding back towards that high a day. And Steven's smart enough. Where basically, and this, you may understand this, you may not, but remember when he's shorting, he is selling first and buying later. So the biggest summary, Steven and I are in essence buying at the same time. Okay. Yeah. When he's covering, because he's like, I'm out, I think this is going higher. That's when I'm buying, because I'm like, I want in because I know it's going higher. It's the same stock, it's the same setup.
Yeah.
It's just
different timing.
Exactly.
Yep.
Or if it's one of the many stocks that fall apart, then I call that, with my another Rocky analogy, I call that the Ivan Drago. I always say if it dies, it dies. And let Steven clean up on those. Yeah. But if they start coming back, that's when it's like, here we go. And I want to be buying the same time he's buying. So
But just to jump in, like we both make money at the same time, trading the same strategy, even though that I go short and he goes long.
It's amazing. It's really, that is really amazing, guys. Like that is just so cool. And that's in the precision.
That's it.
Yeah, it's in the precision. Of that's it. The precision.
If I let the stock spike, and when the first red candle comes after the green candle, and I say I'm shorting this, and I'm risking the top of the high of the day from the open because that's got the most volume. So say the stock spikes, it puts in a red candle. I short that red candle, risking the high of the day, which is just the green candle before. Yep. And then it washes, and I take half off. And I've still got the stop from the high of the day. I still make money from taking half profits. Then I get stopped out for the rest. A lot of the time I'll win. Some of the time I'll get stopped out for half the profits. And when I get stopped out, my other half of the money, I have to cover. I have to buy back in. Tim's buying. So like I make money on the small dip before the rip. And then Tim makes money on the rip. So like we actually both make money of the same, and that's what's so crazy about stock trading. Like it's almost like the technicals are more important than the fundamentals, and I would argue that the technicals are more important than the fundamentals. Tim,
I agree.
100%,
100%. I mean, I always say, I call it, and I think I stole this from somebody, but I call it techno fundamental analysis. Okay. And it's 80% technical. The only 20, listen, all these stocks have terrible fundamentals. Basically the only fundamental is just give me some sort of BS press release that the true believers, I just want the true believers, the Redditors or the Twitterers or the, to be like, oh, they're going to cure cancer because they're buying too, and more buyers is better. I'm none of these, like, let's talk about this stock Steven and I are both trading. I know what's happening tomorrow. I know what's happening the next day. But the nice thing is, if you've got that PR, that fundamental, that contract win or whatever it is, that just brings you more minions, more Robin Hooders. Because remember that, and this is kind of what changed with a lot of my trading in 2016 when I went more long bias. Robin Hood wasn't around then, but Robin Hooders can't really short stocks other through options, or they don't have margin accounts. So it's like there's just so many more buyers now. To me, I thought the edge flipped a little bit, but it's just the same stock, So but I 100% agree with Steven. It's probably more like 90-10, technicals, chart patterns, high days, low days, red to greens, VWAPs, breaks, it's just, so.
But the technicals just reflect what the fundamentals are in real time.
Mm.
Like at the end of the day, like that's the standard argument. Like the technicals will tell the story of what the fundamentals mean just in real time. So
the fundamentals matter. And this is something I don't know if we've ever really, and ultimately my opinion, the fundamentals matter a week from now, a month from now, a year from now. The balance sheet, because again, listen, let's say sketchy penny stock gets some contract win. I mean, they don't get all the money today. I mean, it's like, they got to fulfill the product. They got to deliver. They got to meet milestones. I mean, all that shit matters a month from now. Doesn't matter.
It's just playing the hype.
Yeah,
Day traders are playing the hype.
Yeah.
So the
What'd you say?
don't really matter at all.
What'd you say, Stephen?
Like day traders are just trading the hype. Like we're trading the reaction.
Yeah.
We're trading the initial reaction, then we're trading the reaction based on the reaction that we've just saw.
Yeah.
Like
and that's NFTs. I think that's an important point to the people that are really new. Again, I don't know if I've necessarily ever said that. I mean, Stephen and I might be like, oh, press release, but again, we're just like, we believe in this stuff. It's
like a flag. It's like a flag that
it's a tool.
Afoot.
It's a tool.
Totally.
The press release is just a tool to attract buyers. And Stephen is hoping that everyone rushes in at 9:15. He hopes the chat room rushes in, bags everybody, and then it starts pulling back and they all run away and he covers, and I'm hoping that there's enough newbies out there that believe this thing that will push it up until the afternoon, sell in the afternoon, and then I just throw that thing in the gutter, like Steven does with his dead prostitutes, and move on to the next one. It's just another day.
But I mean, just to be honest though,
that one might get me canceled.
That one might get you canceled.
That one might get me
killing
fired.
dead prostitutes. I mean, now that you put it in my mind, I might just do some browsing this afternoon. But I'm thinking I've got some free time this afternoon. The market's quiet. What do I do? Oh, dead prostitutes. No, but in reality though, like just to make it clear, like we never look at the news on a fundamental basis. Like I'll look at the news and think, basically the news and the volume are symmetrical. And I think, this looks like good news. But this looks like weak volume. Yep. Maybe everyone knows that the news is bullshit and the stock's up too much on fake news.
Doubt it.
Well said.
And then it's a great short. Or there's like some news that comes out and the volume's massive. And I'm like, this looks like a scam, but I'm going to respect it because the volume's there, the story's there. Even if it's fundamental shit, the story's there, the volume's there, the demand's there. I'm looking for a dip and I might get long.
But no, well said. I mean, and Kim, sorry, but that's a great point. And again, I think is a good teaching point is that, listen, back to not believing any of this stuff. If it's trading 200 million shares in the pre-market or something, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. There's enough that's going to be a red flag to Steven to be like, okay, maybe this isn't the one. Maybe I want to go over here with this one that also has a PR, but is trading 4 million in pre-market or something. So,
but just I never qualify the news by the words in it. I qualify the news by the volume. Just to make that clear, I never qualify the value of the news by the words that are used. I qualify the value of the news by how many millions are traded pre-market. If that shit traded 15 mil pre-market, I qualify that news as pretty legitimate and pretty good. If it traded 5 million, I think it's re-released news.
Well said.
I almost feel like we maybe have another podcast in this conversation about the tools, like the flag and or the tools, like to whole conversation around that. Because I know we're talking today about the worst mistakes a trader could make, but maybe let's do another one around that because I would like to know what all the tools are or flags.
Tim, what's the 5 worst mistakes a trader makes? Just so we can conclude the episode and it's not just totally wrong.
All right, so 5 right off the bat. I think number 1 is just not taking it seriously. Okay, we already talked about that. I think
biggest mistake. Don't take it.
Yeah, I just think, especially right now, and listen, especially if you're new to this and you're throwing money around, that's cool. Learn from it. But I think there's a lot of people that I know that are also been screwing around for 10 years. And it's like, oh, why can't I get consistent? I just think you need to realize that. And I think it's bred by it's how easy it is. At the end of the day, it's just clicking a mouse. And I think to people, if you're like building a house, you're like, oh, I need to take this seriously, but it's just clicking a mouse. So I think a lot of people just think it's just that easy. So I think you need to realize that if you want to have fun, whatever, there's plenty of people that are successful and go to the casino on the weekend and blow $1,000 and they get a steak and they have fun. And if that's what you want to do, that's cool. Yeah. But, don't be crying that you're not profitable years later. Take it seriously. Number one, show up every day, put in that work. Then number two, grind until you find something that works. Track that data. Okay. Whatever it is, if you want to start shorting, long in, high price, low price, OTCs listed, but track your data and learn from it. Okay. Now that you know a setup that works, you got to have that plan. You got to stick to that plan. Stick to those stops. Stick to those goals. Again, that's another thing I don't think we talk about it. I mean, these stocks reverse fast. People get greedy. They turn winners into losers, etc. Number 4, geez, I'm kind of on the spot. Getting over trading. I think over trading is another big one. You can, I know a lot of people that have, that again, they're growing, they're learning. They make a couple trades in the morning. They're doing well. Give it all back in the afternoon, because they're like, hey, because remember, it's not linear. I think that's the right term. If you make $500 the first hour, it's not like you're punching a clock. That doesn't mean you're going to make 500 the next hour. And I know a lot of people that do that, especially even on like a monthly basis. I did that. One of my first month short and penny stocks did really well. And I start doing the math and I'm like, ooh, man, $10,000 this month, my first month, $20,000 next month, all of a sudden it's like, oh, and you start making up these numbers. So that's over trading. And then last one, I don't know. I gave you 4. It's good enough.
I think you gave us more than 4 actually, because I was writing them down.
Fair enough. Sounds good. I'll take it. I'll take it as a win.
I have just one.
Go on.
Can I tell my one?
Yeah.
They're
depends on if I interrupt you or not.
I did, and you did.
Could tell it if I wouldn't quit interrupting you.
Unconscious trader.
That's not a downfall though. That's a huge strength.
Unconscious trading is a huge strength.
I thought you said being a conscious trader.
No, unconscious. Being unconscious to your
Stephen,
trading.
after you drink 2 bottles of Jack, and then you're unconsciously trading, like back in the old days, which you don't do anymore. It's funny. You don't drunk trade anymore, and you're so much more successful. There's my number 5. Don't trade drunk. There, I got 5.
Yeah. I'm too close to family, and family are making his like watches kind of thing.
Family comes in handy sometimes.
But just for me, I think adding to losers is the absolute number 1 thing that you shouldn't do. Like you should never ever add to a loser outside your plan. Like I don't mind. I don't mind having a risk and then building into a position based on that risk. Like so for example, say you take a bet. Like I'd really like a bit more, but it's not quite at the price that I'd like. I'll just hopefully it goes high and I'll get that price that I want for that risk level. I don't mind that. But what is bad is thinking this. What the biggest thing for me is if a stock does something unexpected, you shouldn't change your plan based on that, because say you're short and everyone else is short and you're saying, we're all short, we all think this is going to fail, and then this pushes through higher day. The right thing would be, that broke me plan, I'm getting out. The wrong thing to do would be to say, this should fail, so I'm just going to add and add and add and add, because that's what 90% of shorts are doing. Yep. And if 90% of shorts all add to a losing position, a lot of the time it will fail anyway, because it should fail. But 1 in every 100 times, that stock is going to be manipulated by a market maker who's got more money than all of the shorts, and they're purposefully easing it up and up and up and up. And you're going to take a loss that's bigger than every day's gain for that month.
Yeah.
So it's just better to just, like 99 times, a loss is going to go outside your plan and you're going to win anyway because you just added to it. 99 times you're going to make that loss to win. But every now and then, all of those losses that you think that you're smart making, you're going to lose even more on the one time that it doesn't work. And honestly, really it's took me 5 years to be able to tell you this. 4 years. It took 4 years to be able to tell you this, but that's the way the system is.
But it didn't take you 14 years, which many people probably, it does take a lot longer. So at least you figured out in 4 years, Stephen.
No, but it's just a final lesson. I mean, once you learn trading, you learn, I always believe that once you learn trading with a bunch of bad habits, because it's really hard to get profitable. It's almost impossible to make money in the stock market. Yeah. So when you do learn to do it, you'll learn it with a few bad habits. And then this is my example anyway. And then once you learn it with a few bad habits, you make a bunch, then you give some back. Then you make a bunch and you give some back. And then it's just about making pure money or making the right money, like without the bad habits. But I always believe in Tim, I don't know if you'll agree, but you'll make money any way you can in the beginning. Do you know what I mean? Like any way possible, because it's so hard.
Well, I mean, that's something I think that and I talked about, talking with Jack recently. I mean, I think about that podcast I did with him 2 years ago or whatever. I mean, he's just like the epitome of that hustler mindset. Here he is working at a mall kiosk during the day and parking cars at night. I mean, I think that is, that entrepreneurial mindset. I had an old boss. I think I've told this story. I mean, we were in telecommunications and he's like, we were looking at some contract and he's like, hey, listen, if we got to sell pencils on the street corner, we'll sell pencils on the street corner. It's like, we're in business here. This contract was kind of outside our expertise. And it's like, ultimately whatever you got to do to make that money. I mean, that's why we're here. I mean, that's why we love what we do, in my opinion. So,
but Richard Branson always said, if you and Richard Branson's British, I don't know if you know him. He's a guy who flies rockets into space.
Yes, we know him, Stephen. We're still trying to get our invites to Necker Island and to hang out with this guy.
Though I generally distrust people on your side of the pond, I do know who Richard Branson is.
Like, there's someone else who flies things into space other than Elon Musk. Just so you know, like, I don't know if you knew. Don't know if it's in the news. But
Galactica.
Yeah, but Richard Branson always said, if anyone ever gives you a job, say yes, and then figure out how to do it later.
Exactly. Yep, 100%.
Absolutely.
And it's so true.
And we did that, when my partner and I started our computer business. I mean, there were a lot of times, man. We'd get these contracts and we're like, how are we going to do this? And it's like, well, we figured it out,
Yeah, so far you figured it out. You just say yes. And that's the concept of leaping and the net will appear.
Yep.
Sometimes you got to leap and the net appears.
And sometimes you'll fall backwards. Sometimes you'll fall over. But my advice to you guys is never fall back. Always fall forward. Always fall forward.
And I will
close from
Morgan
Freeman, but sounds cool.
And I'll close on, I believe I stole this from Tim Sykes, but very in line with that, that concept of, and this is, I think, important. You either learn or you earn, and that's, I mean, that might be the name of this podcast, actually, so
good one.
When you make those mistakes, don't ignore them. Don't bury it. Listen, if you made the cardinal mistake that Stephen talked about, if you added to a loser and you lost, learn from that. Okay. Cherish that loss and say to yourself, I won't do that again. I got burned again adding to a loser. It never works. Well, not 1 out of 100 times.
That's the no. But the trouble is, it works all of the time until it doesn't catastrophically. Like, that's why it's such a hard lesson to learn.
It takes
years to learn that thing.
Can I have one little
But it
caveat
doesn't
on
work.
that?
Yeah, it doesn't work. Just so you guys know.
One
Overtime.
one little caveat to add on to that. The only way that people are able to accept their failure or their mistake is if they don't beat themselves up for it. So that's just my like perspective. Your ability to be like, okay, I was wrong. This came up on the Instagram live
You could have told me that
conversation I
10
had
years
yesterday.
ago, Kim.
Well, I wish I met you 10 years ago, but only met you almost 2 years ago. We're coming on almost 2 years. But the point is, if you make yourself wrong for a mistake, then it's going to be harder for you to be with that mistake. And so that's why you have to like notice your mistakes without judgment. You're going to be like, oh, okay, I made a mistake. That's human, especially as a beginner trader. It's really important to not beat yourself up for it. That helps you get out from under the mistake, in my experience, quicker. So that's just my little 2 cents around.
As always, much more well said than me. I just was like, my philosophy is like, like take your hand and smash it with a hammer, and yours was much more poetic and way better.
They're both like, you're saying don't put your hand on a hot stove over and over again, but you're gonna keep doing that if you don't have comfort with loss or mistakes. And I find most traders beat the hell out of themselves for their mistakes. And it's not healthy, and it doesn't help you move in the direction you want to move in. It's like, how do you meet that mistake with neutrality?
But it's good though. Like Tim Bohen's beat the hell out of himself for like making bad mistakes, but like he's got a good life now. Like he's got a good family, good house, good place.
And we've had podcasts where Kim coaches me. I mean, if you guys had any idea, it's like an axe murder inside my head. All right, like every day, it's like Chainsaw Texas, death and destruction, killing little mini Tims, in that like little voice inside your head in the Magnum PI fashion. My head is just like Tim's killing other Tims all day long. It's carnage.
But not to be too dramatic, and I love to be seen as the long-haired, sunburnt, surfing, chilled out entertainer. Like I love to be seen like that, but you guys don't. Like I'm the same as you, Tim. Like my head is rife with why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Why didn't you get up at 6 and do 3 hours studying this morning? Like my head is the same axe murderer as yours. and it's a blessing and a curse, but I treat it as a blessing.
Kim doesn't think so, but
nope.
She'll fix this. She'll fix on episode like 4,000 of the Steady Trade podcast. She'll fix us, Steven.
Nothing's wrong. You guys don't need fixing. It's just the gremlins need to be put on a leash. That's all.
But you like us. You like us because we're damaged.
You're not damaged.
You're trying to fix us. You're making that classic female mistake. You try and help the guys that can't be fixed.
I am not trying to help you guys. If you want coaching, I'm available. But I'm not trying to. You guys aren't broken.
That's like the
you don't
plot
need
of every romantic Hallmark movie. There's been like 6,000 Hallmark movies of the woman trying to fix the cowboy that can't be fixed.
That's a Hollywood formula. That's not the formula I live by. And it's certainly not the coaching philosophy. I don't believe you guys are broken. I don't think you need fixing. But if you want a little less pain inside the head, I got a couple of tools for you. But nothing's wrong with you. You guys are doing everything perfectly. I just want to see you maybe suffer a little less when it comes between the ears.
What do you think?
That's
you agree with me or Kevin? Or Kim?
No, but I agree. I mean, look, my mindset's like really fucked, but and probably so is yours. But like at the end of the day, like I've had a lot of success in my environment with my friends. No one has had the success that I've had. Like no one.
Mm-hmm. Well, what if that's not attributable to? See, this is the thing about inner.
So I think I'm healthy.
But here's the thing about
and Tim's the same. He's healthy body.
Here's the thing about inner gremlins. They have a tendency to tell us that the torture they cause us is why we're successful, but it's a lie.
Well, don't tell us that.
What if
because
you're
gonna trip us out.
successful?
I'm in
What if
tons
you're
of it.
successful, Stephen, because you got it going on, and that gremlin, if he just got pushed out, you had the ability to have it going on even more so.
No, but I think discipline is massive. I think my inner voice that makes me look like I don't have a lot of discipline, but I do have a lot of discipline, but the inner voice that is hatred is making me be even more disciplined. So I really don't think it's a problem. I think
Or so
I'm
actually,
just thankful. I'm just thankful that I've got it.
All joking aside, I 100% agree with Kim. I think, and I kind of disagree with you, Stephen. I think a lot of what has gotten me to where I am is that negative voice. But I think, let's say wherever I am on the spectrum, say I'm a 4 out of 10. I think if I listen to Kim, I could be a 6 or 7. I think that wherever it has gotten me, that grinder mindset. And again, I got a beautiful family. I got a beautiful house. I got amazing life. I can't complain about anything, but I think I could be several.
Happier with this?
Yeah.
Happier with this.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah. Well said. Yes. So.
Yeah.
But I don't
same.
think-
Well, as always,
Probably
Kim
the
is
same.
right. As always,
But I don't-
Probably the same.
I don't think anything is wrong with either one of you. I'm just wanting to see you guys not have the gremlin,
I'm just trying to get
talk
Stephen
you
a date.
into.
No, I mean, look, I'm overweight. I haven't got a girlfriend.
especially online
I
girls.
couldn't be happier.
Girls on OnlyFans are particularly looking for damaged men. I'm just trying to get Stephen a date. That's all. I'm
stop.
But if any girl does want to date us, I am single. And I am free, and my hair won't look like this forever. Yeah.
I like the long hair. I think it's very Beach Boys like.
I'm
got a Beach
since
Boy feel,
I
right,
took
Tim?
up surfing.
Yeah.
Since I took up surfing, I thought honestly, like to get me haircut by a proper stylist is $60, and I thought I'd blow $60 on like the dumbest trade. So I just thought I'm just gonna pay $60 and get my haircut by a professional, and hopefully one day I'll meet the right woman because everything else isn't working right now.
I tell you, I'm jealous. I mean, mullets really popular right now. If I could do it, I would have a mullet. I just can't. I can't do it. I would too.
If you guys had mullets, then I would say we got some brokenness going on.
I would. If I could do it, I would. So
really? Why? Who would want a mullet?
One of my son's friends. I took my son and his friend to the airport. They went back a couple days before us, and security was packed in Orlando. Spring break. Just a zoo. Right. And I wanted to make sure they got through security before I left the airport.
Yeah.
And his buddy's got the glorious mullet. And, my son just got his hair cut. So my son kind of looks like every other kid. And I'm like, where are they? And then I would see that mullet. I'm like, oh, there they are. And I'm like, that mullet is glorious. It's got a little bit of wave to it. Oh,
is it like Joe Exotics?
No. Joe's is all trashy, man. I mean, the kid's 19. It's all full body. I mean, it's beautiful.
Okay. I just never been a fan of the mullet. Please don't have a mullet, Stephen. Please. I beg of you.
But I'm gonna get some like cool surf haircut for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I want a picture of you on the board. Don't you?
I'd like to see that too. Yeah. Yep.
What's on board mean?
On a surfboard.
On a surfboard.
I don't use surfing. I know that.
Yeah, but how am I going to do that? I mean, I'm going to have to
you have to get somebody to take a picture of you while you're out there.
A picture on a board. I thought you meant literally get a picture imprinted on the board. So I could look at myself as I pop up on the board. Okay.
You got to get the surfer speak. You're going to have to.
Wait. Yeah. Did anyone that heard what Kim said, did anyone think that Kim wanted Stephen to put a picture on his surfboard? Out of the hundreds of thousands of listeners.
Just me. Just the vanity of me.
Think that?
The vanity.
Or did everyone think that Kim meant she wanted a picture of Stephen surfing?
Yeah, that
comment below.
This highlights the mental issues I have with ego and self-obsession.
No, I don't think it's ego. I think you're just not in the lingo of surfer speak. So we have to get you some surfer magazines, surfer channels. You should watch our episode with Shane Dorian again, the big wave surfer, for you to get in the vernacular. you know.
No, but
Follow-
honestly,
follow
I
him
mean,
on
after this
Twitter.
episode, I'm just gonna play some ocean sounds and
Okay.
and just like meditate. I mean, that's basically the
Perfect.
plan for the rest of the day.
Perfect. Sounds
All
good.
right.
Great plan.
As usual,
Because the
coming up
market
on-
sucks.
coming up on 3:00, I need to go. Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you, Tim.
Again, I would like a comment. I truly, please drop us a comment. I want to know if anyone actually thought Kim was asking for a picture, what do you think she wanted a picture of?
Fucking Americans.
Okay,
Honestly, you fucking Americans. Sorry for swearing, but you Americans are BS. Like, you're absolute BS.
So that being said,
I hope the
thank
virus
you.
comes back.
Ooh, talking.
Like,
Sorry, I
we were
didn't mean
talking
it, but I
about
kind of do.
selectively editing. Someone please selectively edit that from the podcast.
I didn't mean it, but I kind of do. Do you
What
see
did-
that
what is
Kanye
it?
West and Kim Kardashian got divorced as well? Couldn't believe it.
What was it?
Your
What was
country.
it?
What is it
What
with
is-
your country?
What did you just say? I
Kanye
He
West
hopes
and
the
Kim
virus
Kardashian
comes
are-
back.
Oh my God, no, he didn't.
He's like,
Yeah,
you
I didn't mean
Americans,
it.
I
I
hope
didn't
the
mean it, but I
virus
kind
comes
of
back.
did. I didn't mean it, but I kind of do.
All right. I do need to run. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Steady Trade Podcast. This was a fun one. Thank you, Stephen, for coming up with the agenda. I don't know if we actually followed your agenda.
I think it's the longest one we've ever done. It's the longest podcast we've ever done without an agenda, without a plan.
So, again, thank you, everyone, for listening. And head over to SteadyTrade.com. Drop us a comment. If you're on YouTube, drop us a comment. Share. We would love you to share these with your friends. And as always, thank you, Kim. Thank you, Stephen. And we will see you on the next Steady Trade Podcast.